listening to the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, and life-giving relationships. Why focus on relationships? Because the quality of our intimate partnerships and close connections influences our health, happiness, and longevity more than anything else in our lives. Relationships matter a lot, so together, let's jump into the mud, aka our messy relationships, pull some weeds, plant some seeds, and create an enriching environment where strong relationships can take root. I am your grateful host, Dara Posner. I am a relational disaster working toward relational mastery. I am also a positive psychology coach, a relational mindset coach, a blogger, and now a podcaster. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships. If you are a fan of this podcast, please subscribe, follow, like, review, and share. Your engagement in this way is crucial to the success of the podcast, and I appreciate you taking just a few seconds to support my mission, which is to help people like you flourish in life and love. Hello. Today we are back with another segment of our series, Real Relationship Wisdom, where I share nuggets of wisdom that I've extracted from the many things that I have learned from, I've been saying Dr. Terry Real, but in reading his latest book, I actually learned that he's not a doctor. He's a therapist. He is a licensed therapist and not a doctor. So I'm going to stop saying that. I'm just going to say from Terry Real, who is brilliant and I've learned so much from. And today's nugget of wisdom that I'm going to share is the 5 losing strategies. These are 5 behaviors that he has sort of identified as being frequent, common behaviors that many of us demonstrate in relationships in order to get our needs met, but we're meeting them in maladaptive ways when we use these strategies. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. Let's dive in. Have you ever had the need to be right when you're in conflict with your partner? I know that I have, and I think that this is a pretty common one where we're kind of stuck on getting our point across and being right, winning that argument, right? Have you ever exhibited controlling behavior in your relationship? Maybe even in covert ways. You can be demanding and outright controlling, or you can, let's say, hide how you really feel in an effort to control your partner's emotional response to you. Have you ever done that? Have you ever engaged in unbridled self-expression? Yeah, where you just are like, you know what? Here's the truth of how I feel. Here's the truth of what I think. And I'm just going to tell it to you like it is without any consideration of the language that I'm using in the process and the way that I'm communicating it to you through my tone or my body language or my facial expressions. And I'm just going to let you have it. Have you ever done that? What about retaliation? Have you ever gotten a little bit vengeful in your relationship where maybe your partner has done or said something to hurt you and you consciously try to hurt them back and feel very justified in doing so because, well, hey, they hurt you first? Or what about just withdrawing from your partner completely? Have you ever just shut down and withdrawn? If you said yes to any of the above, and maybe you can already recognize one of those 5 things that is, the primary behavior of them all that is your go-to, that is your losing strategy. All 5 of these are what Terry Real calls losing strategies, and they are behaviors that we learned early in life, whether they were modeled to us or we use them in reaction to something that we were resisting, that we were experiencing in our environment. But however they came into our way of being, it happened early. It served a purpose at some point in our life. It gave us a sense of control. It gave us a sense of empowerment, whatever it was that we needed to feel like we could manage whatever circumstances or situations we were experiencing when we were young. But now, as adults in relationships, these same behaviors, and again, I'll quickly repeat them, being right, controlling, unbridled self-expression, retaliation, and withdraw, might give us a sense of false empowerment in the moment, but they're really actually quite disempowering because they create disconnection in our relationships, push our partners away from us, and give us the opposite of what it is that we really need and want, which is true connection, true intimacy, and a sense of safety in our most precious relationships. So this part of ourselves that gets enacted, like when we're triggered, hurt, upset, is what Terry Real would call our adaptive child part of ourselves. That's basically, that survival part of our brain, that primitive part of our brain that, comes online when something triggering happens in our lives, and then we reach for whatever our dominant losing strategy tends to be almost automatically. In fact, it does happen automatically. And so to change that behavior, first of all, we have to become aware of, well, what is the losing strategy that is my go-to? And he says we all have like a dominant primary one that we tend to go for. And so just, really reviewing those and going, what is my go-to strategy that is no longer serving me, no longer helping me? One in which I can become really, really mindful of noticing my own tendencies to want to behave that way. Let's say, we're in an argument with our significant other, we can catch ourselves. Oh, this is me trying to be right. This is a losing strategy. This will not, in the grand scheme of things, give me what I truly want, or this will not give me what I want in the grand scheme of things. This may give me that sense of control or power in the moment, right? Like, let's see, your partner says, fine, okay, we'll do it your way, right? You're right, I'm wrong. You'll get something that's momentary, but that ultimately long-term does damage, right? Because now it's harmed your relationship, and that's not what you want. I'm assuming that your relationship is ultimately more important to you than being right. Same thing with the rest of the behaviors. You may feel really justified in wanting to express yourself. I hear this a lot as a coach. Well, I'm just being authentic, right? There's no problem with being authentic and honest and real about how you feel, so long as you couple that truth with grace in your relationship. And in, I believe, the last episode I talked about loving power, or 2 episodes before I talked about loving power, where you can be powerfully self-assertive and self-expressive and loving at the same time. That is the relational way of being. If you have a tendency towards retaliation, really recognizing the tendency that you have to offend from the victim position, right? That's what Terry calls that. We get into a mode of like, we're going to do behaviors that we know are hurtful, but we feel justified in them because we feel like a victim. And we're feeling like a victim who's acting like an offender when we are retaliating. Again, might feel powerful in the moment, but is ultimately disempowering because it's ruining something that really matters to you, your relationship with the person that you love. And then withdrawing. It may feel safe in the moment just to get out of there, get out of Dodge, right? Climb into our shell, remove ourselves. But what's the message that we're sending to our partner when we do that? Terry would argue that we are basically communicating, you're not worthy. You're not worthy. I'm more important than you, or I'm better than you, even, depending on the sort of mindset that we're having, whether we're punishing or just self-protecting, right? We could be doing that and just, they don't really care anyway, so why bother? We could be coming from that place. Or we can be coming from a place of superiority when we withdraw, and really getting honest with ourselves. Like, what am I doing? Am I trying to punish my partner? And am I trying to send a message that, who do you think you are? You can't treat me like that or talk to me like that, I'm just going to vanish and put you in your place. Or are we, just sort of resigning from the whole thing and going, ugh, it doesn't matter anyway, which is another way of saying you don't matter, right? It's not important enough to engage. Nothing good's going to come out of it anyway. So what is your tendency when it comes to these 5 very common losing strategies that we learn when we're young kids, doing the best that we can at the time, and we could be grateful to that young version of ourselves for finding ways to cope with whatever it was we were experiencing when our needs weren't being fully met as young people, but that now we can let go of and say, okay, this behavior no longer serves me. It's a losing strategy. I'm going to opt for something different. And in most cases, what we want to do when we're about to do the thing we usually do is do the opposite of that. Just do the opposite of what we would typically do, which has in current times gotten us nowhere, and try something new. Let go of those old knee-jerk reactions. Find newer, better, truly empowering ways of being. So that's what I have for you today. The 5 losing strategies. Think about them, meditate on them, see if you can identify the one that is the dominant one for you, and what can you do instead, and see how that affects your relationships. Put it into practice right away. That's my encouragement to you. Okay, guys. Well, I'll be back. I've been reading Terry Real. My list of nuggets of wisdom from him is growing, and I can't wait to keep sharing stuff with you. So I'll be back very soon with another episode. And in the meantime, please remember, you are wired for love and connection. You are capable of love and connection. You are worthy of love and connection.